anticipated matches of the day. It's going to be Splyce versus Method. Guys, I could not be more excited to jump in on this one. My name is Rich Campbell. I'm going to be your host for the final 4 matches of the day. And now on the desk for expert analysis, we have the one, the only Zico. And to cast all of the action, we have Ben Rookie and Healingstat. Zico, I'm going to start with you for this particular matchup. We were chopping it up just a little bit, saying what we were expecting to see. I feel like it's kind of predictable what may come out of these players based off of what we've seen them play in the past. Do you think it's going to be the same on the BlizzCon stage?
Absolutely. I mean, at the same time, you can't really make a 100% prediction on that. But I think that Method, you know, they've been looking really good in this tournament so far with that Thundercleave. And at the same time, we've seen Splyce bring out some Demon Hunter Windwalker, as well as their own Windwalker DK. So I don't really know what to expect from these teams, but I think it's going to be some kind of Cleave versus maybe Thunder, anything like that.
I think you really hit it on the head there. Even if we don't necessarily know which comps we're going to see, I think we can kind of predict what type of play styles we see. What is it about Splyce that makes them so good, though, Ben Rookie, at actually playing this Cleave setup?
I really feel like Chun-Li, I mean, he's the all-star player on their roster. They basically play him every single game. Every single matchup and every single composition that they bring does involve that Windwalker Monk, and that's because Chun-Li is such a solid player for them. This composition, this Demon Hunter Windwalker that they've sort of used in this tournament, we haven't really seen too much in previous tournaments, but it's the comp that they focused on the most when they originally picked up Trill, because it wasn't necessarily the best fit. I mean, they have Demon Hunter, they have Locke, they have the Windwalker Monk. It's kind of an unconventional setup, but I feel like in this particular match, they're both very slippery targets. They're very burst setup oriented, and I think when you have someone like Chun-Li as well as Thugonomics, their setups are just so solid. They're all over the place. Keeps the teams guessing, and I think in a LAN environment like that, it's very, very hard to predict.
Yeah, one of the other things I do want to touch upon as well, Adrian, you know these teams very well. Do you want to start to talk about Method just a little bit?
I mean, talking about the two teams, right? We've got two very veteran rosters here, fully stacked on both sides, Europe and North America. Ven and I actually did some digging just before when we were starting to figure out some of the matches in Group A. The last time that Novos and Fabio played against each other at a BlizzCon was 2010, 7 years ago. And that series went 3-1 in favor of Fabio. He went on to win BlizzCon that year. It was his first BlizzCon, in fact. So there's so much history between these teams. Novos and Thugonomics, we talked about them as this dynamic duo playing together for 6 years. You've got Botar and Swapsy on the other side from Europe. They've been playing since their first regionals in 2011. So much strength and pride on these two rosters.
And it's no accident that the desk is divided right now. You got our NA boys on one side, our EU boys on the other.
That's perfect.
But I do want to know, as you look at Fabio on your stream right now, playing against him usually is a ticket right to the caster desk. I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like most of our casters here today have gone down to him before. I myself have not. I think that's the one accolade that I actually do have here. But what is it about him in particular that just makes him so strong, Zico?
Are you sure you don't want to ask that question to Chuck?
Yeah, oh, man.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding. So the thing about Fabio is that he's obviously a very phenomenal Warlock player, but I just like his general mindset about the game. He's very defensive. He is very clever as well about what to do. And I think it's not just Fabio, it's just Method as a team always tends to do the right pick. They always pick a good matchup for themselves, and they always have a good understanding of what their win conditions are. For example, in the previous game, we saw Blizzo really using his fear only to you know, peel up and disrupt bad situations for them. So the fact that they never kind of get baited by themselves and use that offensively speaks volumes to how well this team actually works.
You mentioned Blizzo. Blizzo has been a huge talking point for me alongside Chun-Li. So bringing that microscope on these two teams and actually looking at these two players as kind of our key player matchup before we jump in. They're just these new talent to both of these rosters that are out of this world. Two of the best players here competing at BlizzCon, and it seems like both of them are just able to get out nonstop pressure and also stop goals, like you were saying with Blizzo. And Blizzo, I just feel like nearly flawless at Gamescom, and now on the BlizzCon stage performing as well. But what have you seen from Chun-Li so far today, already having some matches under his belt?
I mean, Chun-Li has just been playing phenomenally. The one thing I can really talk about when it comes to Chun-Li is that, first of all, he has that same kind of trait that Blizzo has. He's very, very good at disrupting bad situations. Whenever people are going onto Novos, when he's playing his Shaman, for example, he's always very quick to in-cap and Fist of Fury the DPS and peel that situation. But also, whenever there's an offensive play happening, it's always Chun-Li who initiates that and kind of leads the team forward.
And Fenrique, you play that class quite a bit. What is it about Chun-Li that really does divide him? We've already heard about some of his traits as a player, but what makes him different from the other monks that we actually do see in this tournament?
Well, I think it's just his game sense. Like, he has a really good understanding of when he needs to help out his teammates, like Zico was saying, and also when he needs to get aggressive. And I mean, it's a similar traits to Blizzo. I mean, this Blizzo playing the Warrior, Chun-Li playing that Windwalker Monk. They have sort of similar roles. I'm very interested to see how they go head to head. They're going to be trying to stop each other's offensive pushes and try to play defense when they need to. But yeah, Chun-Li, honestly, just super solid player, really good game sense, and he executes.
And when we talk about method, reigning BlizzCon champions with just that extra bonus of Blizzo. Splyce, one of the top teams in North America, even though they're not the reigning champion of the region right now. I think if you ask a lot of the players here, they will say it's the team that they're most scared of in that region. A lot of that does come down to their compositions, but just all around their play has been out of this world. So you look at two of these teams, there really aren't too many secrets, I feel like, that they can hide at this point, because all of the teams are trying to get war games to target what they know these guys have. They're watching the VODs of these guys. So Adrian, when you get into a matchup like this, where both of the teams know each other so well, how do you feel they actually are going to go about it? Do you think there's any worry about overthinking compositions?
It's definitely something you need to consider. With Method Triforce, they have so many compositions at their disposal, and yet they always end up seeming to use the same couple. I mean, they always find one or two compositions they want to lock in within the tournament. This one, so far, it's been the Thundercleave and the Turbo. That's the only comps they've played. Whereas Splyce, we had some questions. They only played Windwalker DK at Regionals. Now they've diversified. We've seen a little bit of the Windwalker Demon Hunter, coming out of Thugonomics, and that's been very good.
Yeah, and as you already know, if you have been watching the tournaments throughout the year, we're going to kick this first one off with a blind pick in the Grand Arena. So it's going to be very high pressure for these teams as we talk about compositions, what they're actually trying to figure out here. That's where the mental games really do come in. And the first game, incredibly important as well, because it could give you a big advantage with how everything does pan out with the way that the tournament is structured. So there is going to be a lot of focus on this match for both of these teams. I know when we do look on the side of Method Triforce, these are veterans who are able to actually come in with big plans. We've seen Fabs actually last year at BlizzCon. I remember we were here in Anaheim when he showed us his giant list of basically this beats this, this beats this. It looked like, you ever see those movies with the crime scene wall and they're just like making connections all over the place? This guy had that for compositions. Who on Splyce is actually going to be leading the charge to figure out which compositions are actually the best? Zico, I know you've had a chance to talk to them a little bit. Do you think there's one vocal leader?
I think they decide together as a team depending on how their war game results go and things like that. But I think that Chun-Li has a very big say in what goes into Splyce compositions, because Chun-Li seems to be the centerpiece. He's always that factor. He's always playing. And then we also got Novos, on that Druid. So we'll see how it goes.
And we know that they have a lot of fans here today. If you are one of their fans, make sure you vote for them in chat. Let us know who you think is going to take it. If you side with the reigning BlizzCon champions, you can do #TRI if you think that they're going to win in chat. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're about done predicting. We're about to jump straight into the blind pick of the most anticipated match of the day. If you're a North American fan, make some noise. All right, I'm sure we have some EU fans as well. We'll let you EU guys hype them up, though. I did my job.
All right, the game is underway. Chun-Li and Thugonomics looking to get aggressive very early on. You can see Swapsy actually playing that Elemental Shaman, Blizzo on the Arms Warrior, and Botor on that Wrestler Druid. Kind of expected running into this blind pick on the Grand Arena. Thugonomics taking a lot of pressure initially right now. Full Stormbolt over onto Thug as he gets lower and lower. Noah's actually gets wind sheared. Thugonomics is in a lot of trouble right now as he pops that Metamorphosis, trying to connect some damage over onto Swapsy right now. But Method Triforce definitely winning this initial exchange.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen this matchup yet at BlizzCon, so I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out. Of course, Windwalker Death Knight coming out of some of the teams into Thunder. Thunder has tend to have been prevailing so far, but the Demon Hunter provides a little bit more utility and mobility, of course, compared to that Death Knight. Thugonomics has also been looking very good on that. I'm curious to see if they can get some spread pressure over onto Botar. I think that's what Thugonomics should be looking for, but Blizzo's just doing such a good job of generating so much pressure onto him. He can't really get away from Novos right now.
Yeah, Thugonomics now reconnecting over onto Swapsy, and this is what Splyce likes to do as this composition, like to bounce around, stall the game, create windows of opportunity, but they might not have that opportunity as Thugonomics gets lower and lower. Novos going to be throwing out that Tranquility, just spamming out those regrowths as well over and over. Nice double fear coming in from Blizzo. Method Triforce looking to get aggressive, really pushing the pace of this matchup. Swapsy now taking a lot of damage. You're having to use that Astral Shift, able to survive. He is playing Orc as well as Relentless, so those stuns not going to be too long on him, but while he's in those stuns, it is going to be big trouble.
Yeah, and one of the differences in the metas is we do see Blizzo also dropping low, having to trade out the Die by the Sword, is we see the European Druids often opting for the PvP trinket, whereas Novos on the NA side of things always playing Relentless, so that's an interesting dynamic. We see Botar's been able to hold onto his trinket so far, so he will have that as an out if needed, but can he heal through the damage? We see Storm, Earth, and Fire being popped by Chun-Li, getting a lot of pressure over onto Blizzo. Blizzo should be able to get out of this. Can he kite away? He might just pull down here. We see the trinket coming out from Botar, casting some heals, maybe able to keep him alive, but it's just too much damage. We see Novos pushing it for the bash. Botar has to kite away, can't get the heals out just in time to keep Blizzo alive.
What is happening? That's unheard of. Swapsy spamming on heals, Botar spamming on heals, and Blizzo just remaining low. What basically kept Blizzo alive there was a nice Stormbolt on the Thugonomics. He was able to heroically go away, and Botar was able to top him off. So he is very stable on that Arms Warrior right now, but that was nice pressure coming in from Splyce. Another interrupt over onto Novos. So if we look at mana, this is a nice swap actually onto Swapsy as well as Blizzo. But if, I was going to say, if we look at mana, Novos is around 50% right now. Botar, I think, is a lot higher, but a nice swap over onto Blizzo once again. Thugonomics and Chun-Li doing a tremendous amount of damage right now. Nice Cyclone over onto Botar, but Botar doing an excellent job with that preemptive Iron Bark. That's basically the only thing that kept Blizzo alive during that setup. But now he does not have that Iron Bark for Swapsy. Thugonomics and Chun-Li all over the place right now.
Yeah, really, Chun-Li is doing such a good job. He's also synergizing well with Novos, so he's able to get maybe the in-cap over onto Swapsy, and it's Swapsy's job to protect Botar from control with the Wind Shear. So if they can synergize that, they can keep getting this crowd control over onto Botar. They're also putting him behind, which means his mana isn't looking that great. We see Chun-Li dropping low, has to trade out the Touch of Karma. Good pressure coming in by Method Triforce, but the Windwalker's really looking for those burst setups, and you can see Touch of Death is just coming off cooldown right now for Chun-Li.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for Splyce to get very aggressive. Swapsy has that Astral Shift up, full incapacitate over onto Swapsy, full leg sweep over onto Blizzo. This is a nice setup coming in from Splyce. Blizzo trying to heroic leap away. Nice fear coming in, but he gets lower and lower. Blood Elf Silence may be able to seal the deal, but Botar has an opportunity now to throw some heals over onto Blizzo. Iron Bark now coming off cooldown. Nice Hex coming in from Swapsy, slowing down some of that crowd control. Nova's not going to be able to throw out those Cyclones or any additional heals or crowd controls while he is CC'd, so Swapsy doing an excellent job with that to keep his team alive.
Presence of mind on Blizzo there was phenomenal. Not did he just fear the DPS, he instead feared Novos on the Recyclone into the Hex from Swapsy. Even in these dire situations, Method Triforces find ways of not only getting out, but also getting aggressive. We can see Chun-Li doesn't have the Touch of Karma. Maybe they're going to try to swap it over onto him, but it looks like Thugonomics is the target of choice. A good low Cyclone. Blizzo walks over to Chun-Li. He's just going to be able to kite away, though. The Windwalker so mobile on the side of Splyce.
Yeah, Thugonomics now caught into a full stun. He does not have his trinket, so that is an opening for Method Triforce. If he gets caught into a full Stormbolt, he has no blur available, he has no trinket available. Could be very, very dangerous for Thugonomics as Novos' addition. He doesn't have that Iron Bark. Nice swap over onto Swapsy once again, incapacitate onto Botar. Botar immediately responds with that Iron Bark. That's going to be enough to make Swapsy tanky enough and receive additional healing, so he should be able to survive on a nice bit of pressure over onto Thugonomics right now with the bash over onto Novos. Full Cyclone as well. Botar getting aggressive with that crowd control. Thugonomics going to be dropping that Darkness, though. He wants to prevent all of that incoming damage with that cooldown. I think that's a good trade.
Yeah, and Blizzo's just going to back off. He's going to respect the damage reduction coming in there. Swapsy taking a fair bit, does has that Astral Shift. That will be the defensive cooldown for the Elemental Shaman, not having traded out though, because Botar getting the Tranquility behind the pillar. Now, he is behind the pillar, which means he cannot be protected by Swapsy. The Bash Cyclone well exploited by Novos there, but a nice defensive Hex at the same time means Chun-Li will not be getting out the burst he wants. He does have the Storm, Earth, and Fire up right now, but Touch of Death is not available just yet.
Incapacitate over on the Botar. Another leg sweep over on the Blizzo. He does have the Die by the Sword. He needs to get out of these stuns. Immediately popping that Die by the Sword as Botar is caught into that triple DR Cyclone. Nice crowd control coming in from Novos. Both teams getting getting very aggressive in this matchup. This is the most back-and-forth matchup we've seen so far in this tournament. Chun-Li trying to connect to his target, but Swapsy's going to be leaping away, casting that Ice Fury. Now Thugonomics needs to be careful. He needs to be kiting, and he's doing an excellent job on that Demon Hunter so far. Chun-Li's going to be popping that Fortifying Brew, going to make him tanky enough. Mana, Novos around 35% right now. I can't see Botar's mana. It's about even, so both healers even at this point in the game. 5% dampening has kicked in. It's going to be harder and harder for the healers to keep up. But that's a full stun onto Blizzo, trying to get away. He actually gets dispelled. That was a beautiful dispel coming in from Botar with that Iron Bark. Blizzo is going to survive, but a Knight's Imprisonment. Swap over onto Novos, though. Blizzo as well. Swapsy looking to get aggressive and turn the pressure over onto Splyce, but Splyce responds with a nice stun onto Botar and Blizzo.
Yeah, Splyce actually had a very aggressive situation there. They got the in-cap on Botar. Novos blinked forward to try get the follow-up CC, but it was Swapsy with the stun coming out, denying that into Blizzo's charge, into Botar's Ursul's Vortex. Method Triforce synergizing so well in this game, and that's one of the reasons that they are the 2 times defending champions. Now Splyce, once again, they're back to the drawing board, looking for the in-cap on Botar. Can they follow up any CC? Once again denied. Stormbolt by Blizzo into the blink from Botar. They're doing such a good job of denying Novos from getting aggressive.
That was a nice interrupt, though, coming in from Thugonomics. Swapsy might just go down here. He's trying to kite away. He's gotten to the middle of the map. Blizzo coming in clutch once again with that double fear. Disarm over onto Thugonomics. Botar should be able to top off Swapsy. This is such good pressure coming in from Splyce in this matchup. Botar once again getting caught into that incapacitate. I'm surprised Chun-Li and Thugonomics aren't trying to put more pressure over onto Botar. It looks like they're very happy just hitting the DPS, putting a lot of pressure onto them, forcing them to play defensive. Thugonomics now caught into the full Stormbolt. He's going to be trinketing out right away, trying to run away, trying to kite. He realizes Novos under a lot of pressure. He's at 50% health, not doing so well on mana. Splyce really has to play catch up at this point of the game. Method Triforce completely top, so this is looking very good for them at this point.
Yeah, Splyce are the team that want to be offensive. They want to use Chun-Li's in-caps over onto Botar, get setups onto Blizzo. You can see it happening once again. No real defensive cooldowns on them since Botar had to trinket on the previous setup. On the flip side, though, Method Triforce, they have the Warrior, they have the Mortal Strike healing debuff, which will help them as dampening stacks higher and higher. Novos is going to struggle more and more. And of course, Thugonomics on that Demon Hunter is very squishy, gets caught up in the stun. Wind Shear over onto Novos, but Thugonomics able to get out with the dance. He's just kiting away.
Yeah, that Blade Dance Fell Rush once again. We saw Mez do it in the last game. Thugonomics doing it this game. Demon Hunters are exceptionally slippery. So are Windwalker Monks. That's what makes this matchup so difficult for Method Triforce. Their targets can just get away so easily. Nice double stun going out onto Blizzo as well. Swapsy doing a great job with that Thunderstorm, denying that go coming in from Chun-Li and Thugonomics. One thing I want to note, Chun-Li actually is playing that Tiger Eye Brew specialization, so he doesn't have the Fist of Fury stun, but he's going to be able to put a tremendous amount of damage onto that Shaman as well as that Arms Warrior.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons he's not running the Serenity, of course, because the Storm, Earth, and Fire, when he does use that, he's able to spread not only the Mortal Strike of his own over onto different DPS, but it also does benefit from that Brew. So Chun-Li, definitely very innovative and high damage talent choices, which will help them in dampening. It's one of the reasons Botar has been struggling so hard. Now, we see they're getting aggressive. Novos able to blink in, get the Cyclone. No trinket on Botar. Can they get aggressive on Swapsy? He does have the Astral Shift, should be able to survive. Recyclone mistimed by Novos. That should give the opportunity for Botar to get some heals out. Caught up in the bash right now. Wind Shear is available for Swapsy also, but Thugonomics is the one taking the blunt end of this exchange. Intimidating shout to deny pressure. Ironbark, but Novos is and they're running out of time.
Yeah, they are running out of time. Novos looking for a drink, but Thugonomics caught into a stun. Can they take him down? Novos does not have an opportunity to drink there. Nice a bit of damage coming in from Thugonomics and Chun-Li over onto Swapsy as well. They're trying to counter pressure, but that was very well read by Blizzo and Swapsy. Realizing that Novos was going for that drink, they went all in on the Thugonomics, and now Thugonomics still in a situation where he's not getting topped off. Novos doing everything he can to keep him alive. He's caught into a stun right now. Blizzo and Swapsy, they just need to survive. They have that mana edge, but not by much. Botar almost completely tapped as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Botar dropping lower and lower on mana, but Novos still completely in. We're seeing cooldowns being rotated, but they are slowly but surely running out. 27% dampening, 27% healing reduction for both of these druids who are already struggling. We see the artifact from Novos should be able to increase some of those hot heals, but Thugonomics having to play so defensively. They can't really exchange damage. They can't get over onto Swapsy, and if they can't do that, they won't be able to get those double stuns, the double chaos moves, the double leg sweeps. It's what they need to generate pressure and get CC over onto Botar.
You also kind of fall behind as a Windwalker Monk if you're not able to get out those, you're not able to spend chi, you're not able to build up those Tiger Eye Brew stacks, so you kind of just fall further and further behind. Novos getting swapped to, having to use that Bark Skin. He just has no mana. He can't keep his team alive at this point in the game. Botar just sitting very comfortably, very far away from both Chun-Li and Thugonomics, but Splyce looking to get aggressive once again onto Swapsy as well as Blizzo incapacitate over onto Botar. Botar not deciding to throw out that Iron Bark, so he's not going to be able to deflect really any of this damage right now. Blizzo gets topped off, Swapsy gets topped off, and really Splyce not able to accomplish too much there with that aggression.
Yeah, Botar used the Innovate and the Artifact there, so getting a significant portion of healing out. Thugonomics, though, once again, low health. We see Ironbark expiring now from Novos. He's really struggling to keep his team alive. And then Splyce, they have to play defensive. Swapsy is free in the open. They can't really afford to chase him. They're going to use the Metamorphosis and try something desperately. They need to get something, but one Stormbolt could easily be the end of the game. Incap over onto Botar. They want to get aggressive on Swapsy. He reads that, gets the Astral Shift out once again. Now the full Stormbolt over onto Thugonomics. The touch of death from Chun-Li is cycloned. No offensive pressure coming out of him. Can they get the execute? Thugonomics is dropping lower and lower. Kites behind the pillar, but Swapsy chases him down. The Thundershot, the Lava Burst, able to take game one, and the defending world champions take game one against Splyce.
NA was looking to try to dethrone them, but EU still looking very good in this series, and thankfully we have Zico to break it down. That one definitely did go the distance. Now we look at these two compositions, we pretty much saw what we expected to see. We mentioned Cleave was going to be huge for Splyce, and when we actually got a chance to talk to Chun-Li, we didn't want to reveal it beforehand. This was their game plan. They wanted to go with this composition against Method Triforce, but now that it didn't work, do you think they'll switch it up?
I think this game was very winnable if you were Splyce. I really enjoyed what they were doing early on in the game. They were trying to stack up Swapsy and Blizzo, and then whenever Swapsy had full HOTS, they would try to switch over to Blizzo, and we saw many times where Blizzo was very low HP. So I like what they were doing. I think they can stick with the same comp and just try to switch it up.
Yeah, let's take a look at just that. There were some very important moments in this matchup, and I think we'll see that play style playing out just like you illustrated, Zico.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was such a close game, and right here, actually, at the start of that one, we can go ahead and roll the clip. We got Botar. He is playing pretty safely. We got Novos caught up in that fear, and then Botar gets incapacitated, and we see a nice double leg sweep here, and then Swapsy is the target of choice. Novos trying to blink in there and get a follow-up CC on that. Doesn't manage to get it, unfortunately. And then here, once again, they've been on Swapsy. Swapsy has all the hots. Blizzo is the one taking the fire now, and here he actually goes to battle stance. Big mistake there, popping his cooldowns and kind of has it macroed. So he narrowly escapes there with his life. And then another setup here, we see Swapsy going with that Stormkeeper, doing so much damage. We see a nice bash into a Cyclone onto Novos by Botar, forcing out that darkness from Thugonomics, and then a nice kick there on Botar to stop that by Chun-Li. Once again, you know, coming in, trying to gatekeep Botar, not allowing him to do too much offensive power here. And then here we see another setup. Novos caught up in that Stormbolt as he was going for that stun on Botar there, and Botar actually managing to kite away from that. And then here we see a nice paralyze on Botar into an incap, and then the pressure is being turned on onto Swapsy. And while all of this is happening, this is kind of the setups that we expect to see out of Splyce, where they initiated with Chun-Li and then they executed with Novos to follow that up. And meanwhile, Method Triforce game plan is mainly to just try to stay alive, try to keep that Eli Shaman healing, try to keep that Eli Shaman in a safe distance, and then eventually when dampening comes in, you can go and get the kill just like that.
And now, Elliot, I want to ask you a few questions here. This was Splyce's game plan to actually break out that Demon Hunter. We've seen a lot of the Windwalker DK be very important in this tournament. Why do you think they switched out that DK for the DH?
Well, I think Method Triforce, they have the answer for that Windwalker Death Knight. The Frost Death Knight is very susceptible to the Elemental Shaman, as well as that Warrior. And when you have a Warrior and a Resto Druid paired together, it becomes very difficult to get those goes. We talk about those goes. That's basically when the Death Knight grips in everyone from the opposing team. They get the double stuns, they get the triple stuns, and that's where they build all of their pressure and momentum. We saw it from Trill in the last game. Every time they try to do a go, they get disarmed, they get stormbolted, they get feared. So I think they're just opting to switch it up a little bit, bring in that Demon Hunter for a little bit more utility, and I really feel like that game was looking super well for them. Unfortunately, Novus went out of mana, and then it was all over from there. They had to start playing defensive, and as a melee cleave, that is not a position you want to be in against an Elemental Shaman.
Yeah, and the one thing you do lose when you drop the Death Knight is, of course, the Death Grip, right? So when you're playing Windwalker Death Knight, your strategy is to get the Incap over onto the Restoration Druid, in this case Botar, grip him in, and then stun him. They don't have that here, so instead what they have to do is they get the Incap over onto Botar, then it's on Novos to blink in using the Displacer Beast, try follow up with a Mighty Bash into Cyclone. Swapsy in this game did a fantastic job denying that. He was able to get win shares, even though Chun-Li was trying to cover it in situations. As dampening stacks higher and higher, and you can't deny Swapsy, Botar's just free, Swapsy's free, and that's how they're able to manipulate the game.
I just want to take a second to note that we have a lot of people at home, and even after that, still do think Splyce can go the distance here in this matchup, even against the toughest opponent, the reigning BlizzCon champions. But before we jump into that second game, before we see the draft, as Venruki already started to talk about healing stat, one of the big factors there was actually what happened with those Resto Druids. Now, let's break down how this actually works as far as healing this matchup.
Yeah, so I think obviously in these cleave matchups as the Restoration Druid, you need to be aware of range kicks, so you're trying to stand max range, avoid as much crowd control as possible, and just to get as much healing. But that's why Novos had the harder job in this game, because not only did he have to do that, he had to also, the onus is on his team to win the game early. Splyce need to get aggressive, and they need Novos for that follow-up crowd control. He was doing a good job of doing that, but Method were doing a better job of denying him. We saw Swapsy getting the stuns with the Thunderstrokes, we saw Blizzo charging in, even Ursul's Vortex, like they were using every single tool at their disposal to deny Novos, and in some situations they almost lost anyways, but they were able to sustain till dampening and win it.
Do you think we see the same composition, Zico, coming in from Splyce into game number 2 now that they've picked Dollar on Sewers here, and we already know that Thunder is the choice for Method Triforce?
Honestly, I think that this composition is Splyce's best bet. I think that Splyce played really well, but then later on in the game, they kind of let Method get the better hand of them. I think that if Splyce kept doing what they were doing in the start, where they kept both Blizzo and Swapsy as their kill targets, where they were kind of switching between them, they were actually in a big lead in terms of mana. So if they can do that, they can actually out-mana Method, I think, in this matchup.
Yeah, so it looks like they have kept that composition. We most likely will see some sort of switch up going on as far as the strategy is concerned. I also did notice this is a composition that needs a name. I think maybe Slippery Cleave. I'm going to consult lore after we're actually done with this one, but I think we have a winner here. So we'll consult lore after this. But coming into this next game, do you agree with Zico that it's only a strategy change that is needed here from Splyce?
Well, the thing is, I think Demon Hunter, played by Thugonomics, as well as a Windwalker Monk, played by Chun-Li, they're both very slippery, and I think when they need to, they can play very defensive and run away. They can use that as an opportunity for Novos to go and sneak in those drinks and give them a mana lead that way. Obviously, they want to play very aggressive, but I think they can pick moments in the game where Novos can go drink, not when he's because then it becomes very obvious, and when he's at 60, 70% mana, and that way later on in the game he will have that mana when Botar maybe not.
Hey man, you've played at BlizzCons before, so I'm going to trust you when you tell me that Slippery Cleave needs to play Slippery. I just trust you outright based on your accolades. But going into this one, Adrian, do you have any predictions? You still siding with EU here, or are you on the NA bandwagon?
I mean, I think Europe certainly on day one, on Monday, they had some issues. We saw ABC falter, Grumble have been eliminated from the competition, of course. Method Triforce stood true, and they are 7-0 at BlizzCon right now. Not only have they not dropped a series, they haven't dropped a single game. Splyce, the closest to challenging them so far, but I still have to give this game to them.
Okay, yeah, one thing I want to note as well, the stakes here are really high. This is an elimination match, but whoever does come in first place here is going to be first place in their group, and that is huge for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, it's an automatic top 4, definitely a situation you want to put your team in. That way you don't have to worry the initial rounds tomorrow. Both of these teams have basically already qualified to make it out of the group stages into that top 6. But yeah, a lot on the line, like you said.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you are Method Triforce trying to get that 3-peat going, and Splyce with a whole region on their back. But it is time for game number 2 to get underway.
Yeah, 3-peat, try, win, whatever you want to call it. Method are a dominant team looking for their 3rd BlizzCon championship in a row. Splyce looking to deny them and have been doing a good job so far. We'll have to see how Thugonomics in particular can play this matchup, because he's the one under pressure early on.
Yeah, Splyce looking to get very aggressive. Nice incapacity coming in from Chun-Li. A lot of burst onto Blizzo right now. Doesn't look like he's pre-hotted. Nice bash over onto Botar. This might be the die by the sword, but Thugonomics getting lower and lower as well. He's already traded out his trinket. Blizzo die by the swords. He leaps away. Imprisonment. Nice imprisonment coming in from Thugonomics. A little bit this time though. Botar was already in that crowd control, so he wasn't going to be getting any healing out anyways. Now they're turning their attention over on Swapsy, and this is what Zico was talking about, Splyce. They need to be all over the place, keeping Method Triforce guessing.
Yeah, and that's the reason that Dalaran Sewers, of course, was the map choice coming out of Splyce. The smaller map enables them to get slightly more aggressive, swap around between Blizzo and Swapsy, the range DPS, the Elemental Shaman, trying to get some kicks over onto him, and Botar's position positioning is actually very awkward. He cannot play near Novos. He needs to be away from the crowd control. So he's actually sitting off to the left of your screen right now, away from the pillar. Should make it easier for Chun-Li to push in, get those in-cabs. Blizzo dropping low. There is the in-cab. Unfortunately, it gets broken by Thugonomics. Slight overstate there from Splyce. That could have potentially been big pressure onto Blizzo.
Yeah, the Fell Barrage as well as that Tiger Eye Brew coming in from Chun-Li and Thugonomics. A lot of split pressure on these high armor targets, but a nice swap over on Novos. He gets caught into the Stormbolt. Darkness comes in, potentially too late. How is he surviving? It's that Darkness coming in from Thugonomics, but Novos does go down. Nice swap coming in from Method Triforce. Got 2-0 in the series.
Last one went the distance, but now Method Triforce cutting down the competition. This is why they are your reigning champions. Look at that smile coming in as well from Botar. You don't get to see that every day.
Yeah, it can't be fun being Novos in that situation. You're in darkness, you're in stun, and you know that the execute has an 80% chance to miss, and you're just kind of sitting there praying, I hope it misses, and it does. And then eventually one goes through and he gets taken down. I really like the adaptation here from Method, though, to try to get some more switches onto Novos, and it's going to pay off as well.
So here's one of those things. We already talked about the composition, and this has happened all the time throughout the season. And I'm going to look to you guys, having competed on the main stage before. You are in a situation where on paper your composition works. It's one that you're relatively well practiced in, but it's just not working. Is now the time to switch things up? Zico, I see that you want to answer this one.
Yeah, so actually, at the start of this week, we had Thugonomics practicing pretty much every single day on his Arcane Mage. And Arcane Mage happens to be one of those things that just does so well into this composition.
I've heard this before somewhere, I think.
Well, you guys can say whatever you want, but Arcane is a very, very good answer into Thunder, especially if your Windwalker is Chun-Li.
Both are shaking his head no.
Well, both are, he knows. Let's just put it at that.
So what do you think, Ben Ruki? Do you think do you think it would show a lot of discipline if we actually see Method Triforce stay on this composition here?
It's a very difficult decision to make. On the one hand, you could stick with your composition. You could try to improve your strategies, think about what went wrong. On the other hand, maybe it's just not going to work. Maybe Zico's right. Maybe we do need to see Thugonomics come in on that Arcane Mage. I do agree that it would be a very solid answer. The question is, are they comfortable on that composition? I mean, there's a lot on the line here at BlizzCon. Nerves are definitely high. So if you don't have that muscle memory built in on a class, it can be difficult to actually perform.
All right, I think I need to do my due diligence here and ask the one person who doesn't play Arcane Mage. Adrian, do you agree? Do you think Arcane Mage is actually the answer?
So I actually have huge sympathy for Splyce in this matchup, because the thing is, we talked about how Method Triforce just needs to stall out the game and win in dampening. So that means that Novos is thinking, I need to be super aggressive. Even as the healer, I need to be super aggressive, always pushing in. And this reminds me of my final against this exact roster, where I was the one trying to push in, and then we ended up losing one of our games in 1 minute. That's the mistake that happened from Novos here. He was like, okay, I'm immortal until dampening, we need to get the kill. And then Method are like, hang on a second, you're a Resto Druid who just blinked into us 1 minute into the game. We're going to pop everything on you in a Stormbolt and kill you. So got to feel a little bit for him. I don't think it was the composition necessarily, but even though I don't play the Arcane Mage, I do kind of agree that maybe that would be something they would be willing to bring out. I saw them practicing it backstage. Maybe it is something that could help them out. But on the flip side, we know they've prepared a lot of compositions. They're very well versed in many of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they just try and hold on. And yeah, we can see they're going to stick to the same comp. They did have a very close game one. They can definitely take games in this series.
This definitely shows a huge amount of discipline, though. Looking at that first game and saying, okay, that was winnable. Then looking at the second game and saying, okay, that was a mistake, but I don't think it's something that we will repeat if we play to our fullest. Let's stick with the composition. So many times we just see teams go, all right, we just got to switch something up. There's something wrong with this comp. We're not going to win. Definitely a thing that happens when you're on match point, because Method Triforce just needs one to close this one out and be the #1 seed in their group. Now, Zico, before we jump in and potentially close out this series, do you think that there is anything strategy-wise that Splyce should be particularly targeting?
I think it's really, really hard for them. I mean, they are obviously comfortable in this matchup. They said that they had good results as well in this matchup, but I think it's just hard. They need to stay back, but they also need to push in at the right times, and that's the hardest part about playing Druid. You don't want to be too aggressive, but at the same time, you want to be aggressive enough to actually get some kind of CC rolling, and it's going to be a lot of switches, so good luck, Splyce.
Yeah, if you're an NA fan, you definitely need to start giving them your energy, because EU is on match point looking to get first place in their group. We're about to jump into this one. We're going to have to see if Method Triforce can close this one out.
Yeah, we'll have to see. One thing I'd like to see out of Splyce is potentially even Druid swaps. Like, they do have the tools needed to take down Botar. If they can get some cross CC on Blizzo with an imprisonment, with a cross stun, they definitely have a lot of damage on that Windwalker and that Demon Hunter, so that might be something that they want to try in this game.
Yeah, I think all the eyes are basically on Blizzo and Swapsy. No matter what strategy Splyce do, whether they're trying to get the swaps over onto Botar, or whether they're just trying to crowd control him, it's down to Blizzo and Swapsy. Can they stop the crowd control firstly, and then how can they punish the overextension from Splyce? We saw in Game 2 they did a fantastic job of that now. Once again, the in-cap coming out of Botar, it's not really followed up by anything, though. Novos not willing to push in. They get the damage, but it's not going to be enough just because Botar is now free to heal.
Yeah, Blizzo and Swapsy putting the fear of God into Novos now. He does not want to push in and get aggressive. Like you were saying, Botar going to be throwing in that Ironbark. Thugonomics and Chun-Li both committing a fair bit of damage. Metamorphosis still available, as well as that Touch of Death. So Splyce, they still have a lot of tools for that aggression when they need it. Incapacity over onto Swapsy, just trying to slow down any sort of cast that he's getting out, but it looks like Botar will be able to throw out a Cyclone. Nice crowd control. If if Method Triforce can just stall out the game, as we saw in game number 1, they definitely have an advantage later on.
Yeah, and building on that, it's like Zico said, the hardest thing about playing Restoration Druid is choosing how much you should be offensive and how much you should be defensive. You've got a great toolkit. The answer isn't to overextend, but the answer definitely isn't to just sit back either. Novos needs to be pushing in for those crowd controls on Botar so that they can actually generate pressure before dampening. And we can see he's going to start pushing towards him just a little bit, but he's scared to displace a base in. As you said, Method have scared them so much, and Splyce are just kind of wasting time right now. As we head further into dampening, Method Triforce will be edged.
Yeah, I really feel like Splyce, they need to get aggressive. Although Novos got taken out quite easily in game number 2, I don't think they're going to win this matchup by playing passive. On that cleave with the Windwalker and the Demon Hunter, they need to play fully aggro. Otherwise, Method Triforce with their composition will eventually win on mana. I mean, Novos already down to around 60% mana. A nice little swap over on the Thugonomics. He's taking a little damage, but Novos positioned so well, he should be able to easily heal off his team. But I just don't think Splyce will actually end up getting a kill unless Novos contributes to that crowd control.
Yeah, Novos is trying to contribute, but he's never willing to use the Displacer Beast. He hasn't used it one time yet this game. And of course, Method Triforce will never swap to him unless he does overextend. We see the Stormbot over onto Chun-Li, in-cap onto Blizzo, denies the execute. Nice low Cyclone onto the Touch of Karma. But this is the story. Method Triforce can do whatever they want. Botar is free. Swapsy is just trying to be aggressive onto Novos. He doesn't have to protect his healer at all.
I feel like Splyce, I don't know what's going on with them right now, but definitely not playing as solid as they were in game number 1. Method Triforce making this matchup very difficult for them. Some nice pressure over onto Swapsy right now. Still doesn't have that Astral Shift for another 20 seconds. Botar, no Ironbark as they turn their attention over onto Blizzo, keeping him honest, making sure that he does have to go into that defensive stance. Nice stun over on the Thugonomics as they try to generate some pressure. Chun-Li just going to be porting out, making sure that he's not a good target, healing himself up with that portal heal as well. So Splyce has stabilized for the time being.
Yeah, they've stabilized, but Chun-Li is behind the pillar, and we were talking about previously, when you're having to play this defensive, it's really hard to get momentum. I would actually like to see, as you said, Ven, swaps over onto Botar. Can they get the in-cap into just stuns from the DPS? Because right now, nothing's really happening. You look at the mana, Novos down to about 30%. He's trying to sit down for a drink, but Swapsy will never let him. Botar at 50%, not really pressured. Thugonomics now. He is swapping over onto Botar, trying to get a bit of pressure. Gets caught up in the bash, but that's going to be down. Can they get the in-cap over onto Botar? I'd love to see them swap to him. It looks like they want it, but the stun from Swapsy, is going to deny the Chaos Nova, so Botar should just be able to walk away.
Yeah, he's going to be completely fine. Novos getting lower and lower on mana at this point. He's playing so far away, but this is it. He's going for that drink at this point in the game. Potentially going to get it, but it looks like Botar will just displace in. Maybe Thugonomics and Chun-Li can capitalize on that, like we saw in game number 2 onto Novos. A Druid that doesn't have that mobility, it can be very, very susceptible to that damage. Nice amount of pressure over on the Thugonomics, though. Thugonomics basically having to run so much in this game. Method Triforce definitely adapted to this composition. They're really putting it to Splyce at this point.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of adapting. They realized they can punish the Restoration Druid. It's something they've done in several years before, let alone in this tournament. Novos is really, really scared. He cannot do anything. He's just trying to get drinks 24/7, but Botar's pushing in, Swapsy's pushing in. They're not scared at all at this point. Blizzo does have the die by the sword, even though he's dropping low, so he should be okay for now. We see the Bash Cyclone over onto Novos with the Stormbot on Thugonomics. Does have the Darkness, will trade it out as well as the leg sweep, but a beautiful low Cyclone once again. Botar is just able to get those Cyclones on point.
Yeah, Thugonomics having to play so defensive. Chun-Li trying to generate as much pressure as he can in this matchup, getting Blizzo a little bit low. That's going to be a nice imprisonment if they can get some CC over onto Botar right now. Maybe they can capitalize on that, but a triple DR stun going to be used over onto Blizzo. Definitely unfortunate for Splyce. They're not going to be able to capitalize on that too much. Swapsy taking a little bit of pressure right now, and this is what we've seen from Splyce in the past, looking for that split strategy. So we can see Chun-Li trying to pressure down Swapsy. Thugonomics just trying to live, getting some pressure onto Blizzo as well.
Yeah, all eyes on Chun-Li in this matchup now. He needs to be the one to step up from his team. They are behind. They're behind on mana, behind on pressure. If Chun-Li can produce a miracle here, he can get the swap over onto Bowtie. He gets the end cap. He's not looking for it right now. Doesn't have that touch of death for a few more seconds. You can see Thugonomics trying to push in on Bowtie. They're trying to generate some of this bird pressure, but all eyes on Godly as Thugonomics drops low into the Mighty Bash. Should be able to get out of this one, though, with that mobility.
Yeah, Demon Hunter super susceptible to damage when they are caught into those stuns. When they're not stunned up, they definitely have the mobility to escape. Thugonomics going to be in big trouble until that trinket comes back up in around 5 seconds, but he's just lower and lower. Novo's having a very difficult time right now topping off his team, but Swapsy getting pressured down quite nicely now by Chun-Li. That Tiger Eye Brood doing some work. Bowtie, though, just positioned so nicely at max range, making sure his entire team's hotted up, and this is just not the same pressure that we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can see some of the offensive cooldowns coming up for Method in the very near future. We've got the Battle Cry, we've got that Stormkeeper. All of those will build up some very big damage, and Novos down to about 10% mana. He's once again trying to get away, looking for the drink, but Swapsy, again, stuns him. He's just doing whatever he can to stop the stealth in the first place, because of course, once the rest of Druid does get in stealth, it's very hard to deny that drink. Chun-Li's trying to get some pressure going, holding onto his touch of death, waiting for the perfect opportunity, but so far, so way, it's been so difficult for him to actually set that up.
Yeah, Novos has been looking for those drinks, like I mentioned, but Method Triforce just not allowing it. But this is really good for Novos. If Thugonomics can just survive a little bit longer, this could put Splyce in a very good position where they could actually out-mana Method Triforce. Novos gets a huge mana lead at this point in the game. Swapsy getting lower and lower. Well done by Novos. Very, very persistent in getting that drink, eventually going to pay off.
Yep, those slippery DPS do pay dividends there for Novos. He didn't have to worry about their health for a few seconds, and he was continuously looking for that Prowl stealth into the drink. He's got 60% mana now. Can they do anything with it? Dampening starting to stack. That Arms Warrior will become more and more effective with the Mortal Strike healing reduction. Thugonomics, of course, on the Demon Hunter, he's mobile, but like you said, Ven, if he gets caught up in the stun, he's so susceptible to death. Yeah,
Touch of Death has been committed by Chun-Li. A nice little bit of burst going over on a Swapsy as he gets lower and lower, not opting to use that Astral Shift. It looks like Bowtie is going to be able to heal him up quite nicely. Bowtie is still a little bit behind on mana, but Novos falling much, much further, so this should get evened up very, very shortly. We are at 12% dampening in this game. Chun-Li still has that Touch of Karma. He should be safe, but I like the pressure that Blizzo and Swapsy are putting out onto him, making sure that he has to run away, giving him less time to build up those Tiger Eye Brew stacks, as well as get out that significant damage.
And we see the stun coming over onto Chun-Li, into the DR stun from Swapsy. They get the kill before Touch of Karma. Method Triforce chaining their stuns, chaining their game. They had the game plan in mind. 3-0-9-0 at BlizzCon.
And they do it in style, like you said, Healing Stat. They have done this without dropping a single map, a single game here at BlizzCon. Looking incredible. Splyce going to need to regain themselves. They're not out of it yet, but Method look primed to take the whole thing. They are now #1 in their group, as if they weren't scary enough. Now they're going to have that in their favor as well. We may actually have the three-peat Memoriki.
I mean, Method Triforce going into this tournament, I wasn't completely convinced, although they did win the European regionals quite convincingly. I really thought that you know, some of these North American teams could contest them, but it's looking like Method Triforce are so solid. In terms of defense and offense, they're just on point. It seems like they're bringing the best composition. Something to note, this is the same composition they originally won BlizzCon with back in 2015, although Swapsy's now playing Elemental instead of the Enhancement Shaman. They do have that available as well, so this is a comp they have played time and time again, and they just look so solid at it.
It seems like the composition doesn't even matter. Enhancement, Thunder, whatever it is, these guys get up on the stage and they're absolute freaks. They're just able to dismantle team after team, and here they have not even dropped a game. But Zico, what enabled them to get their victory here in this series?
Know the matchup that well, but you could tell after each and every single game, Method were getting more and more comfortable on that stage, and they were just playing better and better. And eventually, he managed to find these opportunities out of nowhere, where they just coordinate all of that Warrior Burst together with that Elemental Shaman, and he managed to take somebody down. In this case, Chun-Li without that Karma.
I mean, the thing is when you actually do talk about it, though, they are one of the best LAN teams in the world. When you actually look, this is a very different year. All of a sudden, we have the point system that changes things up quite a bit. They're not necessarily shining there, but the second they're up on this stage, they are absolute monsters. And the day's just getting started here. We have plenty more World of Warcraft arena action coming up soon. It's going to be Panda Global versus Unitas in an elimination match. When we return, we will see who will continue their BlizzCon dreams.